The team that finished third in the AFC South last year was the Indianapolis Colts. The moves they made in the offseason, they re-signed Daniel Jones, re-signed Alec Pierce, signed Arden Key out of free agency. And then in their draft, they didn't have a first round pick this year, but they selected linebacker CJ Allen and then safety AJ Halsey from LSU. This team is going to be known as the team that was 8-1 or 8-2 and then didn't win another game the entire season. I think we were talking about, was it before we were recording or no, it was during the AFC East preview that Sauce Gardner only won one game last year because they won one game for the Jets, and then when he got traded to the Colts, they didn't win another one. So that's what the main talking point about this team is going to be. This team started off really good. Daniel Jones was playing the best ball of his career, and he ends up getting hurt late in November, and then the team just kind of falls apart and signs a 45-year-old man to play quarterback for them for like 3 games. So that was cool. But my question for you guys on the Indianapolis Colts, how will the Colts bounce back from the end of last season?
I think they'll have a decent year. I mean, it really. I mean, you were rocking Phillip Rivers as your quarterback to end the season, with Daniel Jones being out for the year and Anthony Richardson deciding that he just didn't want to do whatever was going on there. Like it really feels like 8-9, considering how they started, was the worst possible case scenario, and everything kind of just started to dogpile on them because they didn't have a quarterback. Like they were able to key in on the run. Any sort of pressure on the quarterback was just not happening. Defense can only do so much when the offense is putting up like not that great of stats. Like it I don't think there's a way that the second half of the season Colts is what we see for a full season this year. I really just can't see that happening.
I don't know if they do bounce back. I have seen this before. I have went through this before personally as a football fan of the amazing start, terrible finish, and what that does to a franchise. I know that they didn't have a quarterback, so that's a big reason for that. But also, look at the teams who they did play early on in that schedule last year. Miami, meh. Tennessee, meh. Denver, okay. I get that, but you won by 1. Vegas, meh. Cardinals, meh. So you played 2 teams that made the playoffs that year in your first 10 games. Or you beat 2 playoff teams in your first 10 games. Dawson, you're muted.
You remember the Denver game? The only reason they won that game was a leverage call because the guy jumped over the long snapper on the game-winning field goal, and they got another chance at it and made it the second time. So they could have lost that game too and had 1 win over a playoff team for the first 10 weeks. But
and then after that, you played nothing but playoff teams, and you struggled.
hey, they played Kansas City, and Kansas City wasn't a playoff team.
I guess, yeah. You're playing what you played teams that are competing year after year for a playoff spot currently.
And at the time, Kansas City thought they were going to be in the playoffs until they didn't. So, but yeah.
So, I actually think that they take even another step back this season with how their schedule pans out. Right now, I have them starting 0-3 because you play Baltimore at home. I still don't think you win that. At Kansas City versus Houston at home. Depending on how Houston is this year, I wishful thinking feel like they're going to be a little better than they were last year. If they don't, then we have bigger issues in Houston. But yeah, you follow that up with 3 winnable games with Washington, at Pittsburgh, and Tennessee. But then you go back on the road in 2 underrated home environments with Minnesota and Jacksonville. So, and that's just, kind of the first half of their schedule. I think that they're going to take a step back this year. I am not necessarily a big believer in Daniel Jones. I don't know. I don't think 8-9 is where they're going to be at this year.
Some of the things the Colts have going for them for this season. They have the 5th easiest schedule in the NFL. Like, they have another like light year for the schedule. They're gonna have a full off season to integrate Sauce Gardner in the blockbuster trade they made in the middle of last year. They re-signed Alec Pierce. They re-signed Daniel Jones. Here's the thing that scares me, though. I think it was only a week ago, which is still pretty remarkable, given the fact that he tore his Achilles. But Daniel Jones is just now getting cleared for practice. They seem pretty confident he's going to be available early in the season. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be 100% healthy. That Achilles injury takes... You can come back in 10 to 11 months, but realistically, to play good football, that's a 12, 13, 14, maybe 16 to 18 month recovery time to get back to 100 and something percent. So that worries me. And then it kind of felt like a lot of things went right for the Colts to start the year last year. Like you said, they won that game against Denver off a leverage call. They won like several games against teams that didn't really do anything in the regular season. And then as soon as they started to play teams of their caliber, I guess, they started to lose games and had that downward slide. But it just worries me about the quarterback situation, because if it's not Daniel Jones starting, is it Richardson? I mean, I think Richardson, or is it Riley Leonard, would be the default backup right now.
This team is so fun. I've seen, like, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the TikToks of like, what if the NBA season was like the WWE, where like they don't say anything, and like week 1, the opening night, you just see who the starting lineup is, and it like shocks you. Like imagine LeBron right now showed up opening night against with the Sixers and no one knew about it. That's what it feels like with the Colts on a week-to-week basis over the last 5 years. You had Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, Anthony Richardson, Riley Leonard, Phillip Rivers again, Daniel Jones. Like, it's what was his name? Did Sam Ellinger, has he started a game with them? I swear he's played at least a game with them.
Maybe several years ago,
but like, they've went through quarterbacks like they can. I swear they just point at someone. They're like, I want him as quarterback this week, and they just kind of roll with it. Granted, injuries don't help, and that's been a historic thing for them over the last decade, not even just the last 5 years, about their quarterback play. But yeah, it's almost like, well, we'll see who comes out of the tunnel and goes under center for the first play of the offense for them. Achilles injuries, man, don't rush back from those. I was nervous about being a Celtics fan and seeing Tatum come back so early, and seemed like everything went all right, but like, you can't guarantee that that's going to be a thing, especially in a league where you are playing on turf that loves to stick. It is turf made. Sorry, it's turf that's made to injure people, whether people want to admit it or not.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? I guess did we ask the floor, ceiling, and realistic expectations for the Colts? I don't think we've covered that yet.
No.
But realistic floor, ceiling, and gut reaction record pick right now.
I'm going to tell you guys right now, I think I'm a lot higher on this Colts team than you guys are. I don't necessarily know why. I just kind of have I just have a feeling they're going to figure it out. Especially now that I'm realizing, wait, Daniel Jones isn't going to be back till like 100% to start. But then again, I mean, you look at the schedule. Does it really matter who's starting at quarterback for the first 2-3 weeks? They probably don't win those games anyways. But I don't know. I will say floor is the same as it was last year at 8-9. That's what I have it as. Ceiling, I think these guys are really given a shot to win this conference or this division. I have it at 12-5 because it's really not that hard of a schedule. Yeah, it starts pretty rough with Baltimore, KC, Houston, but like after that, I mean, who knows how the Minnesota's QB room is going to be? Jacksonville lost a lot of talent. I feel like they're going to regress a lot. Philadelphia, yeah, that's going to be a rough one. And then Cincinnati are probably going to be fighting for a playoff spot. But otherwise, I don't really see a ton of games that are like, ooh, that is going to be a hard one to win for them. I feel like they're going to do better than you guys think they will. I have realistically probably about 10-7.
Wow. Brock? Block?
Bach.
Bach? Spock?
Floor. This might be out there. 5 wins.
No, you about said 4.
I have 4. I'll stick on 4.
Wow. Before you continue, is this the first team in doing these previews that we all have like drastically different opinions and views on? I feel like
Probably.
every single team we've previewed up until this point, we've kind of had the same range somewhat. And if Braden's thing is they're going to go 10-7, and Brock, you think they could go 4-13. I'm curious what their ceiling's going to be.
That's floor.
I'm curious what their ceiling for you is going to be.
That's like they're calling Drew Brees to go play quarterback a couple weeks because they have nothing left.
What's Derek Carr
I'm willing
doing?
to be wrong, but I don't see it.
Ceiling if everything clicks is 10 for me. I could see a world where everything clicks for them and they just pick up where they were in the beginning of last year, and they get that 10 wins competing for a division championship. I'm just going to go with what I have written down. I go back and forth between this number and a couple of, like, right around the same area. 6 wins.
Wow.
I don't know. For some reason, I just don't have a good feeling about this team.
The question is how much time, if any time, does Daniel Jones miss? And when he eventually comes back, what percentage of Daniel Jones are we getting from last year? Is my question. Are we getting 85% of what Daniel Jones played like last year? Are we getting 80%? Are we getting 90%? That will be the key. I'm gonna bring this up too when we talk Kansas City eventually, because like they're in the same boat of their quarterback is hurt and they don't really know. Like they say he's gonna start week 1, but I'm still skeptical on how well they're actually gonna play. But the first few weeks are a huge indicator. They're gonna lose those first 3 games. I'll tell you that right now. That's just a gut reaction. Home Baltimore, at Kansas City, home Houston. They might win that Houston game, but I feel like it wouldn't shock anyone if Indianapolis is 0-3 to start, correct? Can we make that assumption?
Yeah.
From there on out, though, they play Washington. I don't really know what to think of Washington right now. I don't know if we're getting Washington from 2 years ago or last year. So, verdict's still out on them. Pittsburgh, we're not, and none of us are high on Pittsburgh. Tennessee, we just talked about Tennessee earlier. There could be a fun team, but will they actually start winning meaningful games? Maybe. Minnesota, they have the offensive firepower. Defensively, I don't know. Like, there are winnable games in the middle part of that schedule that could bolster their record. So I'm going to say floor at 6-11. I'm going to set their ceiling at 9-8. I don't want to go quite as far as Braden and say they're going to be 10-7. But I think they're going to be 8-9, 9-8. Potentially week 17 or 18 be in the playoff hunt. And who knows? They could sneak in. But I'll change it. I'll say my floor is 6-11. The ceiling is 10-7. And I think they'll go 9-8 is my prediction. Just because I need to see how Jones comes back. And if they can win the middle part of their schedule, which is kind of the easier slate of games, then I think they could set themselves up later in the season pretty well. But that is my prediction of the Indianapolis Colts. The over-under win total for them this season is 7.5. So do with that information what you will.